What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday was absolute insanity online after this big GTA 6 blowout with information. Yes, we got the price, but that was kind of expected. It was all the other stuff that followed with another edition and even the physical copy, but we'll try to break down all the chaos that ensued here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Star Fox. It's out now, but reviews went live yesterday, so we'll take a look to see how that turned out. And there's this new retro handheld that seems to be lining up for a pretty big release, specifically the premium way to play the 6th generation of systems, provided, of course, the company can stick the landing, but we'll go over all of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And, of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with the Steam Machine. Now, we know people were putting their names on the waiting list for these different SKUs of the Steam Machine, some with controller, some without, some with storage like 512 gigabytes, some with 2 terabytes. But it looks like one retailer, at least in Japan, just started opening up orders, and like we can see, now this is over on Notebook Check, saying the retailer that serves Japan, Taiwan, and Hong Kong is handling orders differently. Instead of a queue, they just started taking orders, and they appear to have sold out. I did see a few people, I think Shuhei Yoshida mentioned that he got his order in for a 2 terabyte model. But I'm actually not surprised they sold out here, and in fact, I think Valve, for their initial run, will sell out because I don't think it's a ton of units. Like, I think it's tens of thousands, not millions, nothing like that. But I think for the most part, enthusiasts or people who were already like, okay, 1,000, 1,200, I was kind of expecting that anyway, are going to buy in. Again, it's going to be more about what happens beyond those enthusiasts. When the early adopters are good and they have their systems, is Valve able to keep any momentum going with that price point? That's going to be the big question going forward. Also, we had a couple of showcases that were announced. We'll start with the one that's a bit further out. We can see over on Gamatsu, and that's for THQ Nordic. There's a digital showcase that'll be happening August 7th, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And they say it has a packed lineup of fresh updates and news across a wide range of THQ Nordic's core intellectual properties. They say it includes long-awaited reveals, okay? Now, they point out The Eternal Life of Goldman, Expedition Samurai, Fate Keeper, The Guild, Europa 1410, Titan Quest 2, Way of the Hunter 2, Wreckfest 2. That's cool. I mean, looking at the list here, The Eternal Life of Goldman looks pretty cool. Titan Quest 2, sure, but like, come on, we got Darksiders 4, right? I'd like to think that'll be there, but the way that they originally presented it was, it felt like it was still pretty much like early days for that game. It would be nice to get an in-game look at what the direction is, though, for Darksiders 4, and that's at least my hope going into this. Not necessarily my expectation, but it would be a lot of fun just to see what's planned next for that franchise. Otherwise, though, look forward to August, see what THQ Nordic has next. Oh, and as for the other showcase, actually it's a spotlight from Capcom that's happening today. We can see over on their account. They say a Capcom spotlight arrives June 25th, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern then, all right? And they say it's going to be focused on Monster Hunter Stories 3, Dragon's Dogma 2, Dark Arisen, that's the big expansion that they have for that's coming up, then Onimusha Way of the Sword, that obviously coming out in September. And remember, they say it's a 30-minute live stream. Remember, Onimusha right now, we're unsure if that game is getting moved up. We don't have a formal announcement. This could be where that happens. So maybe it does end up coming out a few weeks earlier just to avoid all the crazy, like the crowded end of September. And Monster Hunter Stories 3, maybe just extra content. I am curious if they have like a quick like aside of, oh yeah, also Monster Hunter Wilds is coming to the Switch too, because they've already kind of mentioned that in passing it to investors or online. It was very odd the way that they just kind of just threw that out there and kept moving. Maybe this is a place where they can make that more formal, kind of as a presentation setting. And I don't know if there are a release date out there, but I do think Capcom will have a few other surprises alongside of the already named titles that'll be there later today. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Grand Theft Auto 6. The internet was going nuts yesterday with what was happening. Now, they did reveal the price, and it's not shocking. I've run polls here before. Most recently, it seemed like everyone was expecting an $80 price for the base game. Again, it's all the other stuff that's around that $80 title that set the internet off in like a frenzy. All right, so we'll start here. Now, they did put out a ton of screenshots. I think it's like 50 some odd screenshots that people were going through, and the screenshots for the most part, like I say, was really showing off a lot of the additional content that they announced. Kind of lean into the Ultimate Edition, yes, but there were some nice scenic shots, just giving us an idea as to how, I guess, the art style. We still haven't seen in-game visuals, technically, okay, like, here's gameplay, you know, of GTA 6, still waiting on that one. But, again, we can go through many of the screenshots here as I'm going over the different bits and pieces of information. All right, so with this game announced, of course, set for pre-orders happening starting today. Actually, they should be live now, as they said it was going to be going live midnight, June 25th. So it's almost like they're treating this like a big midnight release thing, and it's like, guys, you're handing over money, you know, digitally for like just like basically a digital certificate saying you can get the game in November. So all right, anyway, it says it does mention that this is a single-player game. That's important because people are trying to figure out what's going on with the multiplayer side for this title, and the way it's worked previously for Grand Theft Auto, even Red Dead Redemption 2, the single-player portion comes out a month or so later, then the multiplayer launches. So Rockstar, Take-Two, they like to do this thing where, hey, we don't distract you from the single-player game initially. We want that to have its time in the sun, you know, have people get to check this out and recommend it and talk about it. Then we'll get to the multiplayer that, as we've seen, ends up eating up the majority of the time over several years, okay? GTA Online, as we saw with GTA 5, was massive, and I assume they probably put a ton of money, a massive budget, behind building out GTA Online. For this one, the only issue is we don't know if it's actually included with GTA 6. The way that they kind of talked about it, some are wondering if it's going to be a separate product for GTA Online. That's okay, that'd be interesting. So I guess maybe, this coming out November 19th, maybe look towards January for the online to launch. It'd be interesting if they tried to launch it the same week as, I don't know, Christmas, if it is a month later, but I mean, it's digital, so I guess they could do it. Pricing is confirmed, $80 for the base game, but get this, there's an Ultimate Edition that's $100. And I saw the Ultimate Edition, I said, okay, we've dealt with that before. What is it, a couple skins or something, some pre-order bonuses? Well, there is a pre-order bonus if you order the game digitally before November 20th, and it's a vintage Vice City pack, all right? And also, they seem to be handing out 1 month of GTA Plus. If you decide to redeem that, make sure, if you don't want that beyond the month, to cancel it, because it seems like it also enables recurring billing, and that'll be something that'll be a nice surprise on your next statement, like, oh, I have GTA Plus. Oh, that's right, okay, because of that pre-order bonus. All right, the physical release. It's a code in the box, and that's the to me, out of everything here, that's the most shocking and honestly the most disappointing. All right, so that'll go on sale starting November 12th. That's the same time that preloading starts. So, I mean, we'll know about the file size before then, but that's when we'll at least start the downloading process of what most likely will be a couple 100 gigabytes, we assume. All right, so it doesn't matter if they put that in stores early because you're just going to be inputting a code anyway. To me, it's disappointing because I thought this would have been an awesome opportunity to somewhat, I don't want to say revive, but almost go out on that last big hurrah, you know what I mean, for midnight releases before we get to next generation, where I'd, again, be surprised if there was a disc drive in there. It's such a massive release. You don't see it very often. It would have been cool to be like, hey, all right, everyone's going out for midnight release to pick up this game. Nowadays, it really is just for the systems, and even then, people are like, do I need the PS6? That's sad. Also, I mean, at this point, I'm looking at it as a digital game outright. That's how I'd be picking it up here. I really don't know what the point is of getting the box for it. Although I will say the unboxing people will be curious if there's a map or other extra materials in there. So, I mean, I don't know. It's going to cost the same either way. Anyway, the Ultimate Edition. Okay. This was a big point of contention because there's a lot behind this Ultimate Edition. Remember, this is the $100 version, so it's $20 more than the already $80 game. We have special vehicles, and I saw a boat in there, so that's all right. Weapons, and then also weapon skins, outfits, and tattoos. There's mod kits, but there's also shops behind this Ultimate Editions. There's a mod shop called Ride Out Customs, and Every time you see one of these, by the way, I think they're just trying to play into the idea of it being a shop, but it says only open for business with the Ultimate Edition, as in any of these shops I'm about to name. I guess you walk up and it just tells you didn't spend enough money on the game to use the shop. That sounds crazy to me, that you buy an $80 single player game and you have content just walled off in the game. It actually is like closed until you give them more money, I guess. I assume you can upgrade to the Ultimate Edition. Anyway, there's that. There's Sarah's Unisex Salon. There's Stock 305 Clothing Store. And there's Electric Fang Tattoo Shop. Okay, so that's generally all the stuff that's in the Ultimate Edition. We're still trying to figure out if there are, say, story missions or anything attached to some of these stores or just content in general. That would be rough if that was the case, because that'll set off the internet all over again. This is not a great look to me for the Ultimate Edition when they're already getting $80 for a game that is going to sell stupid amounts of copies. Now, Sony, obviously, hearing that stupid amount of copies, wants to attach itself to GTA 6 in terms of the marketing. There obviously is some kind of deal here between Sony and Take-Two with Rockstar, and Sony started to put out this ad campaign, Plays Best on PS5, but they removed their initial post. They were like pulling them down left and right. People were trying to figure out what the deal was here. It seemed like they did use the wrong logo, I guess, for GTA 6, but also they used the wrong PS5. So they had a disc-based PS5 next to it in the ad. They removed it and they just put the digital PS5 because there's no disc for GTA 6. So why would they have a disc-based PS5 to show off alongside of it? Now, the PlayStation blog post does point out DualSense, 3D audio, solid state for fast load times. I assume there's going to be no load times for this, and okay, this might sound kind of weird, but for GTA, they have had some pretty cool like artwork or just iconic loading screens. I guess those are gone, unless there might be an initial load in, you know what I mean? And then there's no load screen, so maybe they'll have something there for it. There was no mention in the PlayStation blog post of PS5 Pro enhancements, but on the PlayStation Store, they do have the PS5 Pro Enhanced badge. So we're still waiting for any kind of technical details, frame rate, resolution, anything else. And this is now going to come down, obviously with people out there who are looking at this. What is your value for the game? And I think most people are going to go, I've waited so long for GTA 6. I've already built this up in my mind. I say in their mind because we still haven't seen gameplay for this game at all. A ton of screenshots. And look, for all I know today, with pre-orders going live, they absolutely could drop trailer 3. Here's an in-game look for GTA 6. And I'm like, okay, there it is. We at least have a semblance as to what the UI or the HUD or whatever is going to look like. But at this time, we don't. And pre-orders are going live for what would be an Ultimate Edition of $100. And I think this will be a situation where people already accepted $80. Like, yep, you know what? We've seen Mario Kart, right? Mario Kart World, that was an $80 game. We figured GTA 6 would also be $80. They've braced themselves for it. It's here. Okay. The Ultimate Edition, I think, is, and then the code in a box, I think, is another thing where people are like, oh, okay, what are you doing here? Like, it is a slam dunk for Rockstar and Take-Two. So now, to me, with them kind of really pushing, I mean, they're I don't say cutting it close because it's still Grand Theft Auto. It's going to do really well. But you see people online go, okay, this is, if this wasn't Grand Theft Auto and it wasn't Rockstar and Take-Two, there'd be some serious problems right now with this game release. So I think at this point, with everything they've done, it's time to see something else for the game that's not just 50 some odd screenshots. They look great. Can we see the game though? The way that they've done it in the past, it's usually a couple of months before release. So I'm still thinking September is when we'll actually see in-game, which is still crazy because pre-order's still out there. But at least another story trailer or something else to give us another look at the game. So I guess we'll keep our eyes out today. Otherwise, though, most likely people are going to annihilate the store pre-ordering GTA 6, and most likely they already have, honestly, $1 billion lined up before the game even officially launches in November, just based on people giving them money through the store early. Next up, let's talk about Star Fox. It's out today. I've already played the demo, and I'm sold on the game because it's Star Fox. I really like Star Fox 64, and honestly, the price point is pretty good. I mean, look, it's $50 physically because I went ahead and ordered it a bit early online, and even then, it's $60 physically or just $50 digitally. So with that, reviews did go live. It's currently sitting at an 81, as we can see over on Metacritic. That's on like 78 or so reviews, and I was looking through some of these, so we'll start at the top here. Shack News gave it a perfect 100. The Switch 2 has a summer blockbuster experience that faithfully honors its source material while introducing Star Fox to a new generation. Vooks also gave it a perfect score, saying is the blueprint for how Nintendo needs to do remakes going forward. This is Star Fox for those who've been there from the start and those starting here for the first time. Star Fox 64 is iconic, but this is now the definitive way to experience it. XGN gave the game an 85, saying this refreshed version of Star Fox proves the series is still timeless, even without a lot of extras. The polished R-Wings, crew, and environments look great, while co-op makes the campaign more fun. Multiplayer is a nice distraction from the story, but could have offered a bit more depth. I do want to go over to the opposite end of the spectrum here with Jux Video giving the game a 45. Wow, that feels kind of harsh, saying, by being overly faithful to the source material, this Star Fox remake misses the mark. Nintendo has revived a dated genre without injecting any meaningful gameplay modernization or worthwhile additional content. It is essentially the 1997 game ported to 2026, complete with all its structural flaws, starting with the pitifully short runtime. Okay. I mean, I think most of us were expecting it to just be that game, but brought up here with newer visuals. I even say smoother gameplay and all the like cinematics. I noticed this with some reviews though. It was like, hey, it's faithful, but it's faithful to a fault, whether it's the AI or the fact that you can run through the game very quickly. I mean, like an hour or two, and it's like, okay, but you're supposed to run through it multiple times with branching paths. That's kind of how it was on the 64. That's what I'm expecting here. So all I've really gathered from these reviews is, hey, if you like Star Fox 64, you're probably going to like this one. Or if you've been curious about Star Fox 64, this is at least a good entry point into the Star Fox universe, which admittedly doesn't have a lot of original entries, all right? So hopefully, if anything, this does well enough, and I feel like at this point, Nintendo would have already had to have had it in development. I think Fox being in the Super Mario Galaxy movie is very calculated, and there probably is another Star Fox game in development that maybe we'll see in a year or two, and maybe that one being a bit more built out also takes from what we've seen with something like Star Fox Adventures. But for now, we got a newish Star Fox game out today, and I'm looking to pick that one up immediately. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a retro handheld that I think looks really interesting because it could be like the definitive way to play 6th generation systems, specifically GameCube and PlayStation 2. Now, we can see over on a time extension, they have been tracking this thing constantly because the way you can see as Retroid has been doing this, it's been like bits and pieces of information, right, as they've gone along. Just ways to keep people engaged and interested in the product here, that being the Retroid Pocket Nova. So they have the screen, which is the big thing people are looking at right now. It's a 4.5-inch 1280 by 960, 120 hertz AMOLED display, and it's setting up for that nice 4:3 aspect ratio with an OLED. And that, to me, that I immediately saw that and said, oh, okay, and it has that nice horizontal setup there, that configuration. All right, so I'm seeing this, I'm going, we still need to get more information around the price, and then we need that chipset info, right? Like, if this can't run GameCube or PS2 well, let alone even trying to upscale them, it'll just look really nice. It's like a card looks really nice, but has like a super weak engine into it or something. Here we go, though. They did announce that it will be using the Qualcomm QCS8550. That is indeed built, as they mentioned, for high-end emulation, Android gaming. It has the Adreno 740, and so I would look at this as something that would indeed be able to handle not only GameCube or PS2, but be able to upscale that, right, do all the rendering techniques so that it looks really smooth, and should play at a high frame rate. I'm paying attention to this because the last thing we need, they even showed off a bunch of different color schemes that you can get here. Atomic Purple's in there. There we go. The price point. That's like the last thing here. And I do believe if they can get this, if they can get it at 200, I mean, that's pretty good. If it's between 200 and 250, I think they're all right. If it's above 250, they start to run into competition from some of the other companies. I'm hoping this is $199.9, and I mean, honestly, I'll probably pick it up because it does look like a really, really good setup for a generation that is awesome. So I'll keep tabs on this. They keep dropping information, bits and pieces here and there. So I'm actually expecting them to drop the price point anytime now. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, have you gone to a midnight release in store for a game release? Okay, 52% say yes, 48% say no. Wow, this was really almost 50-50 on this one. You know, I was looking through the comments and there are some good memories in there. I saw some people going back to like, you know, Gears of War 2 or Halo 3. Halo Reach came up multiple times. I saw some Pokemon games getting thrown around, which was cool. Saw GTA 5. I mean, that was absolutely a big one when that midnight release hit. I remember like GameStop went nuts. I mean, there was like a line around the building for that one. I saw Metal Gear Solid 4 in the comments, Smash Brothers. So there are a lot of really fond memories for midnight releases, and it's kind of a shame that the game midnight release has kind of gone by the wayside. The system midnight release is still a thing because it's a system. You can't like download the system. Not yet. Wait till cloud game era, but like you can't download that. You have to go out and get it and then maybe pick up some games with it, like the Switch 2. That was a fun midnight release. But those come around every, you know, so many years or something. There was a point in time where you were trying to look at the schedule and be like, okay, I'm going to do this midnight release. Then in a few weeks, maybe I'll do that one, or a few months of that one. And that's how it was even at GameStop when I was working there. Man, there was a whole calendar and everyone had to pick which midnight releases they were going to work because you just couldn't keep working them in a row. There were a couple a week at times. And that was a different world nowadays it's like, I wonder if there is going to be another midnight release ever. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Jerry, who says, the problem here is that Valve is so much focused on why it's so expensive, which is not their fault. The biggest problem is that the use case and the value for the Steam machine isn't there anymore for its current price. So I get what you're saying here in that the system is more than $1,000, and that's when expectations for what the hardware can do, it just goes up. That's the price point. It does have to equate to at least a reasonable amount of power when you're at that level. So I do think if they went back to the drawing board, you're like, you know what? We're going to do something with this GPU. Maybe we'll upgrade it somewhat so it's able to do a bit more in these different games. And then you see the benchmarks, you go, oh, okay, well, it can actually do like 1440p and then it can upscale pretty well to 4K. And so I'm getting reasonable frame rates at a good resolution, even on modern titles, ray tracing, all of that, no issues there. But they didn't. They basically were trying, it's pretty clear, they were holding on to the system, trying to figure out how they can get the price down. They couldn't, and now they push out a system that basically has to survive on kind of its form factor. Like, that's sort of it. It's like, yeah, but you could build a system that's more capable for cheaper, but it's not this small. That's like the main thing that the Steam machine has over anything else, especially with the release of SteamOS 3.8. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you wanted to hear more about the physical release for GTA 6. I did an entire video on that and how, obviously, that's not great for physical game releases going forward, but I'll leave that video right below. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.